Shulchan Aruch Orach Chaim, Siman Mem Zayin, the halachot of Birkat Torah, and we just did Seif Zayin. We are on Daf Ayin Vav Amud Bet, Midafei Mishna Berurah, and the regular prints of Mishna Berurah. So last halacha that we studied together was Birkat Avat Olam Poteret Birkat Torah Im Lamad Miyad Beli Hefsek. The Maran brings that the bracha Avat Olam that we say by itself has the content of Birkat Torah in it, in the bracha Avat Olam, and hence, if a person remembered that he has forgotten to say Birkat Torah, but he has already said Tefillah of Shemona Esrei, for instance, right? In the middle of Shemona Esrei, remember, oh yeah, I forgot to say Birkat Shachar, and together with them, I forgot to say Birkat Torah, Slichot ran into Shacharit, and before you know it, I totally forgot to say Birkat Torah. So if you have said the bracha Avad Olam, that by itself covers the Birkot HaTorah as well, because the content of it really covers that which the Birkot HaTorah have. This is what we learned in Masechet Brachot together in Daf Yud Aleph Amud Bet. Now Maran writes in Seif Chet, V'yesh tistapek im saki bekoreh kriyat shema samuch la miyad b'li hefsek. If the fact that you say Abu Yisraeli, and you say Shema right away afterwards, Shema is learning Torah. In fact, it's a very interesting machloket in Masechet Menachot, the Tzaditet. The Gemara there has machloket Tanaim. What is the minimum amount of learning Torah every day? Now, you have to put it in context. The same Tanaim in Masechet Brachot, we haven't gotten there yet, soon we're going to get there. They debate what is the right mahalech, what's the right hashkafa and mindset for a Jew in regards to balancing Torah together with derech eretz, with work and business. The two Tanaim are Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, right? The holy Rabbi Shimon, and also Rabbi Ishmael. So Rabbi Ishmael says there that Rabbi Ishmael says that a person needs to work, then it's mutar for them to work. There's no problem with working. HaNeheg Bahem Minhag Derech Eretz. HaKadosh Baruch Hu has allowed us to work. He said, After the Ganecha, V'tiroshcha B'yisarecha. And Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai very vehemently disagrees with that. He says, Efshar Adam Choresh b'shat charisha v'zorea b'shat zri'ah v'kotzer b'shat k'tzira. You're going to be plowing and planting and watering and harvesting. Torah matei alea. What's going to happen with Torah learning? Ella, he holds, no. If you do Hashem's will as a community, Hashem miraculously is going to support for Parnasah. Strangers are going to come and shepherd your flock and give you whatever you need, and you just sit and learn Torah. That's the Shita of Rabbi Shlomo Yisraeli. The Gemara says what it says. But this is one half of the machloket. They strangely have a machloket of what is the minimum of mitzvah Talmud Torah every day. Right? It says V'agita bo yomam v'layla. So in Masechet Menachot Tzaditet, the Gemara says there, Rabbi Ishmael, surprisingly, it seems to be much more stringent than Rabbi Shlomo Yisraeli when it comes to the minimum. Rabbi Ishmael says, every second of the day that you are not working for your needs, right, to put bread on the table, you have to be learning. It says, V'agita bo yomam v'layla. It means very much literal. Actually, Rav Moshe Feinstein very interestingly has a tshuva in Ikrot Moshe discussing whether or not it's mutar to work to become wealthy. So if you have your basics already, right, can you work to make more? I'm not going to say what he says. I want to keep my job still. So that's it is a very interesting debate back and forth whether or not it's mutar to work. But it says you have to learn Torah. Rabbi Shlomo Yisraeli says no. Of course, I'm the one that tells you that you should learn and dedicate your life to Torah altogether. But minimum, if the person is sick, is busy, whatever it is, one day you can't do minimum. Kriyat Shema Shel Shachar, Kriyat Shema Shel Shacharit, Kriyat Shema Shel Arvit. You say Kriyat Shema morning and night. That's That's mutar. And the Gemara says, "But davar ze asur lo bifnei ha'maaretz." I'm not sure if I just went over the Gemara. Gemara says you cannot say this to ha'maaretz because people misuse this. They think, "Oh, I did my Kriyat Shema, yalla, patur," right? Yeah, so therefore I should say also together with that, the Ariya Kadosh says, if you don't finish Shas and no Shas, you got to come back and Gilgul, right? So, of course, the person has to dedicate themselves as much as they can, but this is actually the example that the Gemara gives for Rabbi Shlomo Yisraeli's Shita, that by Kriyat Shema, you're Yotze with the mitzvah of Talmud Torah. But halachically speaking, it's not so simple. Maran writes, Yesh listapek is not so pashut. Isagi bekorek Kriyat Shema, when you read Kriyat Shema right after the bracha of Ahavat Olam, are you Yotze with that, having learned some Torah? Because after the bracha of Birkat Torah, the two writes that Birkat Torah is Birkat Mitzvah also. It's not just Birkat Shevach. Maybe the Tur says you could divide between the Birkat Torah that we say, the 2 or 3 brachot that we say, that Al Divrei Torah is the Birkat Mitzvah, and the next bracha is Birkat Shevach. But nevertheless, it is Birkat Mitzvah as well. Birkat Mitzvah is like you said, Aniach Tefillin, and then you go, you take a coffee and come back, put on tefillin. You can't do that. You said the bracha, you have to immediately put on tefillin. You say Birkat Torah, you have to immediately learn Torah. Maran says, Yesh listapek is not so pashut. If you could be yotzeh with that, with saying Shema right after your bracha of Ahavat Olam, which we mentioned, it's a replacement for Birkat Torah. Says Maran, therefore be careful to say Birkat Torah before already the bracha of Ahavat Olam. Says the Mishna Berurah, yesh leistapek. Wow, why yesh leistapek? Why is it doubtful? The yesh lomar achar kach, the yesh lomar the Kriyat Shema, the rak divrei tefillah. Because you're not learning Torah when you say Shema in the morning, Shema in the afternoon, as a part of your tefillah, as a part of the obligation of tefillah. You just say psukim. You remember we had this discussion prior, whether or not you have to say Birkat Torah before you say Slihot, before you use psukim as a means of tefillah. And Maran, Shulchan Aruch, and the Ramah, both of them seem to indicate that it is me'ikar adin mutar to say psukim derech tefillah v'tachanun, when you're not trying to learn, but rather you are using the psukim of Tanakh as tools and means of tefillah. That would be mutar to say it with Birkat Torah, even though, according to the Ramban, according to Sefer HaChinuch, many other Rishonim, Birkat Torah is mitzvah d'oraita. Now, we ended up mentioning that Marash Charuch, the Ramban, none of them had the writings of the Rambam in his Tshuvot, Perador. Rambam writes in Perador that a person that wants to say even one pasuk, even derech tefillah, not as learning Torah, but as means of tefillah, is asur without Birkat Torah. And therefore, halakha is like Rambam. Had Maran seen the Rambam, we would have never passed it otherwise, right? So that's but you have in the logic, the logical discourse of this sugya, you have a shita that holds that if you're using Tanakh and Psukim for means of tefillah, you don't have to say Birkat Torah. That means that's not considered learning Torah. So says the Shulchan Aruch, following the same logic, who said that when you say Shema as part of your tefillah, that you're considered learning Torah?
Shema's different.
Who said?
The word, your intent is there to know what the words mean. It's not just lip service.
So you are saying that the rest of the tefillah should be lip service.
That's what I'm saying. I'm just saying Shema specifically, you have to, from the Gemara, the first 3 sentences, you have to be there. You have to have your mind on it.
You have to have kavanah. All the tefillah, right? Tov le'harbot. But you're saying the whole world is davening with kavanah. It's very good.
Yeah.
Okay. Very nice. Yeah. So you write the heter, right? So you save a lot of people from a lot of heat. But so says the Shulchan Aruch, if that's not considered learning, so then maybe for the requirements of you learning Torah right immediately after Birkat Torah, maybe you don't have that. Maybe you have to learn now something, a braita, a gemara, a little thing after after the tefillah, and hence Shulchan Aruch says better to say the bracha prior. Says the Mishna Berurah, we didn't finish it, we stopped in the middle. You're not saying it l'shem limud. You're not saying it in order to learn Torah. You're saying it because it's a chiyuv of saying Kriyat Shema every day. Vilagaon proves it as a davar pashut that the Kriyat Shema does not help. So it says, therefore, immediately after the first moment that you could talk, right, which is after Shemona Esrei, after whatever the Payim, then you have to say some psukim as learning Torah, some braita as learning Torah in order for that to work. The Rabbah also brings he also brings from a lot more poskim, and the halacha, he also sides with that the Shema itself is not going to work, is not sufficient for this. Now, if a person says Kriyat Shema right after the bracha of Ahavat Olam, and you did not learn after tefillah, you forgot. So what's the scenario? The scenario is you went to sleep in the evening, you woke up, you want to go to night seder, you didn't have an arvit. So you know what? Instead of saying Birkat Torah, which if you went to sleep in your pajamas at night, you need to say Birkat Torah. So you were tired, you went 6 to 8, you went to sleep, 8 o'clock you want to have an arvit, and then 8:30 you want to go to night seder. So you say, wait a second, I have to say Birkat Torah before night seder. Oh, I have the bracha of Ahavat Olam in arvit. Great. And then I'm going to learn right after Shemona Esrei, I'm going to learn. So arvit came, Shemona Esrei came, he said, Oseh Shalom Brahamav, and you say you're a friend after 20 years. You forgot all about learning, right? Start schmoozing, and then you remembered that you haven't said you haven't learned at all after the tefillah. Lo yatsa yedei chovat birkat Torah. Right? You see from here that you should not be yotzeh, according to this Maran, not pashut if you yotzeh the bracha of the chiyuv of birkat Torah, v'sarich levarech, and you would have to say the bracha again. But Kaf HaChaim says that because there is safek here, we say sabah. We say safek brachot la'akel, right? Now, we mentioned before that if you have doubt, if you have said birkat Torah or not, you have to say it again. You remember that? He said because it's the Oraita, according to the Ramban, according to the Sefer HaChinuch, according to those Rishonim who holds Birkat Torah is Midoraita, the Safek, the Oraita, Lechumra, you have to say bracha again, right? So, but Kaf HaChaim over here says there are many other Sfekot that are involved, whether or not it was Sachadat, if you sleep during the day, whether that stops the Birkat Torah, and maybe you already said it because of Birkat Torah, right? And even if you want to say that that's not, but Ahavat Torah for sure is considered saying Birkat Torah. The only question is if I learned afterwards or not. Is it Birkat HaShevach? Is it Birkat HaMitzvah? There are so many Sfekot that in that case, the Kaf HaChaim says enough, fatal. You let it go, and you don't say the bracha again. Of course, if you find somebody that went to sleep and now is saying Birkat Ahavat Olam in the next minyan of Arvit, you could have him have kavanah for you, and you have kavanah, and you can sit and learn afterwards. If someone is saying Birkat Torah, it's even better.
So before Amad Yomi, we should do the Asher B'Chavanu.
Forget about Amud Yom, you have to say it before Slichot.
Or Slichot. So I'm saying, like, if let's say the times where it's not Slichot, I say the morning brachot and then the Torah bracha, the blessing for learning Torah at home, and then I come in for Amud Yom.
That's fine, yeah.
But then you said you have to learn Torah right after you say the bracha.
Yeah, you say again, if in the Sidur, if you take a look, there is the psukim of Birkat Kohanim that's printed right afterwards to be said, and there's a braita that people say. That is, you're doing it for learning Torah, right? And you're saying it in order to have learned Torah, and that really covers all the bases. So that's the psak of Kaf HaChaim.
We see this before the Shachar, and Sadichot is before the Shachar. Meaning, you said if it starts before the Shachar, but then it goes into it.
Yeah, if you're awake and you're not going back to sleep, you say it, and that one time covers it. Yes.
It's before the Shachar.
Rabbi, in this scenario, why not just learn after? You forgot, you saw your friend, and then you remember, it's going to have sake. I get it, but just learn something.
Doesn't help anymore. Because I have sek.
No, I'm saying because of the safek, you're not gonna say the bracha again, so at least learn, so maybe if there was a safek, then you say.
Yeah, economic. Why not? But again, that doesn't help really the safek. Says the Shulchan Aruch in Seif Tet, Yesh omerim she'im ifsik ben birkat haTorah lelimudo en bekach klum. There are those who say, your question, that if you paused between birkat haTorah and between learning Torah afterwards, en bekach klum, there's no problemo, no problem, right? Of course, the proper conduct would be not to stop in between them. Therefore, the minhag has evolved that you say immediately after your Birkat Torah, you say some psukim of Birkat Kohanim, and that is considered the learning that you do afterwards, and that would be sufficient. So now this is a machloket that Maran brings in Bet Yosef in the name of Rabbeinu Yonah and Rabbeinu Yitzchak Hazaken, the Ria Zaken, disagreeing with the other Rishonim, and therefore Maran says we are machmir to cover all our bases. The Mishna Berurah writes, she'im hifsik ta'amam de davka ba'avar haba de lo have ikar bracha lebirkat haTorah az eno poter ela im ken lamad miyad. They say by Birkot Kriyat Shema, by Avat Olam, because the ikar of the bracha is not for Birkat Torah, it's one of the Birkat Kriyat Shema that you say. Happens to so be that the content of Birkat Avat Olam is very similar to the bracha of Birkat Torah, and hence, once you say that, you don't necessarily need to say Birkat Torah again. But the ikar of the bracha is for Birkat Kriyat Shema. So hence, you need over there to learn right away afterwards to show that this was my Birkat Torah. They learned the Maran like that. They learned that shita that Maran brought in the previous Seif. I say, if you actually set yourself up to say Birkat Torah, Asher kiteshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al divrei Torah, you said the bracha already. That's clear, and therefore you don't need to have the learning actually adjacent to it right away. Even if you did a little hefsek, is fine. That's the shita that they have. So says the Mishna Berurah, as eno poter ela im ken lamad miyad beli hefsek, aval birkat haTorah poteret kol hayom. You say birkat Torah has something very special that the Tur actually brings. Usually, if you have a cup of water and then you take your mind off of it and you go, you come back, you have to say new bracha. If it says sachata. Torah, you come here, you learn Amud Yomi, you learn the Daf Yomi B'Halacha, then you go to work. Then you come back for pre-mincha shiur, you say new Birkat Torah? No, why not? So the Torah says a special thing that this is not considered, you're always involved, it covers the whole day. Now, hashkafically, Musar-wise, is amazing because the concept is a Yid never takes his mind off of Torah. Yeah, I have to go work, unfortunately, right? But every moment that I have, my mind is attached to learning Torah. I'm always back learning. So therefore, I know that's the Musar Hashka. But halachically speaking, simple halacha, let's be serious, a lot of people do have hesachatat. You go through a whole day, you come back, right? For anything else, you would say bracha. But for Torah, it's a special thing. So if you said Birkat Torah is poter kol hayom, these Rishonim hold because there's this specific thing about Birkat Torah that covers the whole day. You don't need to necessarily learn immediately afterwards, and it's not a problem. Afilu lo lamad achar tfilat shacharit ad chatzi hayom still is mutar. Velo dami de kol habrachot she'asur la'afsik ben habracha lemitzvah. It's not like all the other brachot or the rest of the brachot that you can't pause in between. Here the mitzvah is to learn the entire day. You never take your mind off of it because you have to learn any moment that you can. So that's the default mindset. The majority of the poskim disagree with Maran Shulchan Aruch, says the Mishna Berurah. The מסכים לדעת הישומרים הזה, דלא כתב המחבר רק ונכון, וסבירה להו, the majority hold the din Birkat Torah kemo b'chol Birkat mitzvah. That the halacha of Birkat Torah is no different than any other Birkat mitzvah, and you actually could lose it if you take your mind off of it. Or Birkat Hane'enin, when you say the bracha and food and drinks, the sarich lachzor u'varech, and if you have hesach hadat, you have to go back and say bracha. If you did not attach the bracha to something immediately, yeah. If you attached it immediately, then even if you pause a little bit afterwards, it's fine. But to say the bracha and to just let it hang there and not have learning immediately adjacent to it, attached to it, that you cannot do because it's like a birkat hane'enin. You say shakol, you have to drink right away. You say bracha mitzvah tefillin, you have to put the tefillin right away on. But if you know for sure that you did not take your mind off of it, that's a little bit different if you know for sure that he did not take your mind off of it. The Pri Chadash agrees with this. The Vilagaon agrees with this. Chaye Adam also, he was a mechutan with the Gaon, the Vilagaon. Their children married each other. So the Vilagaon and the Chaye Adam, they were mechutanim. So it says, the Mishna Berurah, the Vilagaon, the Chaye Adam, the Pri Chadash, all of them agree with this. Le halacha, that should be the halachic assertion. But the Kaf HaChaim writes, he says, because we have a machloket over here, if a person was posek, was paused in between the bracha and the learning of the Torah, you don't go back and say another bracha. Safek brachot la'akel, sabal. It applies to here as well. Ubifrat sheken gam dad Maran Shulchan Aruch. It says also, especially that Maran holds like this as well. We don't say, safek brachot la'akel is what we go with, and we don't say a new bracha. The Chafetz Chaim writes, seems to me, says the Chafetz Chaim, that because there are poskim who say, don't say another bracha, יותר טוב אם אירע לו שהפסיק אחר ברכת התורה שיכוון אחר כך בברכת העבר הבא. If it happened to be that you said ברכת התורה in the morning and you forgot to say the psukim or learn afterwards immediately, what should you do? It says Chafetz Chaim, instead of saying bרכת התורה all over again, don't do that. Wait until bרכת avat olam in shacharit. When you say shacharit, have a kavanah in your mind that I'm going to cover my learning with the bracha of avat olam, and then immediately after tefillah you learn a little bit as well. Latzet bazeh yedeh birkat Torah v'ilmad me'at techef hachashisa in tefilato, and you learn a little bit right after tefillah. Ve'ayin bebiur halacha. V'chen ha'agu atam b'shlosha psukim sherasu lesader k'derech hakoreh b'Torah. The reason is because there are 3 psukim in Birkat Kohanim, right? There are 3 psukim. Yevarechecha Hashem v'yishmerecha is one of the first one is 3 words. Next one is 5 words. Next one is 7 words. But it's 3 psukim, right? And they wanted to institute this based on Birkat Torah that you say when you go up to the Torah. How many psukim you have to minimum do? 3 psukim. So they formatted this. After that, they say Birkat Torah. You say 3 psukim. And what 3 psukim better than Birkat Kohanim? You start your day with bracha. The entire Birkat Kohanim is 3 psukim. It's short, it's powerful, is condensed. So therefore, they instituted to be said Birkat Kohanim mitam she'en nesiat kapayim b'layla, and v'naktu elu mishum sheyesh b'hem bracha. They chose this 3 because they have a context of bracha. You want to start your day with a bracha, and Rabbi Yitzchak Palaji, Rabbi Chaim Palaji's son, is Sefer Yafeh Lalev. He brings that the reason that Jews were zocheh to Birkat Kohanim is in the zchut of Matan Torah. And therefore, when you say Birkat Torah, to appreciate Matan Torah, you say this psukim was the outcome that you were zocheh to that. This is a beautiful piece from Rabbi Chaim Palaji's son. That this is one of the reasons it has depth to it, why we chose. It's not arbitrary that here's a bracha to do it. So no, we are zochet birkat kohanim because of Matan Torah. And reenactment of Matan Torah is every morning when you wake up and say, Asher b'harbanu, you gave us the Torah. Hayom tiyu be'enecha kachadashim, it has to be new and fresh in your eyes. And in that schut, you're going to be zochet to the actual content of birkat kohanim. So that's why we attach it together with birkat kohanim to remind HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem, give us the bracha, we're accepting the Torah, and you bench us, you give us the bracha. It's a beautiful piece of the Yafei Lalel based on the Midrash, but nevertheless, says the Mishna Berurah, let's just finish this. Umutar lomar afilu kodem or aboker, it's mutar to say it even before the light comes up, even if it's at night still when you woke up early. You don't have to be machmir and say, well, there's no Nesiat Kapayim at night and you can't say those psukim. You could say the psukim, no problem. We're saying it to have learned some Torah, and therefore it is fine. You're not doing Nesiat Kapayim, you're learning Torah, and that would be fine. Birkat Kohanim, says the Mishna Berurah, he says some brighter afterwards. It was a Mishnah in Peah, the beginning of Peah. And you say Elu Devarim Shadam Oso Otam Ochel Miperotehem. That's the Gemara in Masechet Shabbat Daf Kuf Chav Zayin Amud Aleph. And Kedei Lekayem Mikra uBemishnah uGemara. This way, you've done Psukim, you've done Mishnah, you've done some Gemara, and all of them are beautiful content. So therefore, you cover basically all your bases of Birkat Torah and learning Torah with Psukim and with Mishnayot and with Torah Shabbat Peh as well. And Bezat Hashem, we'll continue this in the days to come.